Hi. So I have a question or two questions for every one of you here. The first question is, do we really think? Think about it. Do we actually think? The second question is, if we think, what are we made of? Are we made of mere organs, the brain, the heart, the colon, arms, skin? Or are we made of just the soul? Or is it just the brain that releases chemicals that controls how we function automatically? Take a look at this picture. What do you see here? Well, most of you might not recognize the difference between two pictures unless you've seen this picture before. But in this case, something called your unconscious mind works. I will define what your unconscious mind is. So let me flip the picture for you. Now you see the difference in Mona Lisa's mouths. The first one is upside down. Usually, if you don't train your unconscious mind, it is not going to recognize the difference. So what is the unconscious mind? Let's start with the fundamental of the mind. What is the mind? So let's imagine it as this room. Each one of you is a thought. So the room is the mind, and you are one thought. What are thoughts? So what's consciousness? Let me tell you. Consciousness is how you perceive things, is how you feel, how you touch, how you know a person, and how you recognize things, even when it comes to smell. You use all your five senses to recognize something, transform them into thoughts, and act upon them. So the unconscious mind that just worked, was it when you were asleep? You were fully awake. The unconscious mind does not work when you're in a coma or when you're dead. It doesn't even work when you're asleep. You would be 100% awake, but it works without you feeling it. So early philosophers and scientists wanted to map the mind and the brain from thousands of years ago. Have we come up with an idea? Well, let me tell you. You see here, this is an iceberg, isn't it? We are Titanic. We have no idea how big this iceberg is. We are going to crash into it, and we're going to get doomed. Unless we know that the iceberg is big enough. Unless we know that we should turn the other direction. So what we know about the mind is just the tip of the iceberg. This is what we know. What we don't know is beneath the water. How about I tell you what's beneath the water? So I defined conscious mind. I defined unconscious mind. So what do they contain? They contain three things. The id, the superego, and the ego. I'm not going to bombard you with definitions. I am going to give you another example. So I have been dieting my whole life, believe it or not. And I love chocolate. So for example, I see a chocolate bar. I am going to eat that chocolate bar. I'm going to steal it and eat it, and I'm going to be happy because my id told me to be happy, and it's so good, and I love chocolate. That's the impulsivity in this situation. This is the aggressiveness of hunger. Then comes my super ego and says, Noura, calm down. You're going to eat a salad. That's how it's supposed to be. You're overweight. You must not eat the chocolate. It's not good. This is the right thing to do, and do the right thing. Then I get depressed. Then comes my ego and says, hold on. Super ego, id, calm down. She's going to eat half of the chocolate bar. It's a win-win situation. She's not going to gain the extra weight. She's just going to eat half of it, and she'll be fine. So you need to know these three components, and you need to know how to balance between them in order to be the person you are. Okay, look at this image. So I just stormed in and told you all these definitions and all these examples, and you're like, so what is Noura talking about? There's a new science called social neuroscience. It bonds between cognitive psychology and neuroscience. They use an imaging technology called fMRI, or functional magnetic resonance imaging, that tracks regions in the brain following a certain feeling or thought. So they map where your thoughts come from. So there is a relation between your mind, which is something intangible, and your brain. Okay, so why am I still telling you this? I'll tell you. So I'm telling you this because you need to recognize what's important in order to overcome your obstacle. Let me give you an example. You've heard of breast cancer. You heard that 1 in 8 women develop breast cancer at some point in their lives. So a study in the United States was conducted upon women who had breast cancer. They told them, you are going to perform a surgery called mastectomy, which removes the affected tumor. They got one group and they got the other group. The first sample said, you know what? Yes, I was diagnosed with cancer. They took the tumor and I'm going to beat this disease, whether life likes it or not. Guess what? They had an 85% higher chance of surviving cancer within 5 years. Another group came and they're like, you know what? It's not really cancer. We just wanted to avoid it. So it's just prevention. There's nothing wrong with me. They were in denial. They took the situation negatively. And guess what? They only had a 15% chance of survival, even though both groups were at the same stage of cancer and they had the same procedure. Fascinating. Let me make it worse. Another study in the United States was performed upon people with end-stage cancer who had different types of cancers, from colon cancer to brain cancer to whatever there is. They got two groups and they asked them the same question. The cancer spread everywhere. We call it metastatic carcinoma. They asked the first group, how do you feel? The first group was like, I don't care if my life is ending. It's not going to end now. I'm going to spend time with my family and I'm going to live till the last day of my life. And I'm going to take this positively. It might be sad, but I am going to live for as long as it takes. The other group said, I give up. As simple as that. Guess who lived longer? The ones who actually took the disease positively, regardless of how awful it is. So if these people were able to take these diseases in a way that made them overcome them, each one of you is able to do something. We go through a problem every day in our lives. I'm not telling you because you're incapable of doing so. I'm telling you because I know that each one of you is able to overcome any obstacle, even if it's out of your control. Just know that you take control of your mind and not the other way around. So to conclude, you know your mind now. You know the deepest part of your mind. You know the end of the iceberg. And the last thing I can say here is the sky is your limit. Thank you.